Welcome to a lovely late IHP show for our future humans, or daytime, depending when you're tuning in. As we have a lovely holiday approaching us, I wanted to share a moment of gratitude and what's the other word? Well, of gratitude, appreciation for all of the smart scientists out there who have made it possible for me to come to you and let you know why being yourself is amazing, why it's all about the emotional resilience work, but it's with wisdom grounded in that which is data and logic. And how, our emotional whimsy doesn't take over. We don't use effective realism, so we use an open heart and we use a stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable brain. And with that, I do know emotional regulation is not for everyone, nor is resilience. You will have first completed the shadow work and the healing, then you're ready, because now you know self-regulation. So you'll be able to catch when other stuff is happening. And you also won't want the fantasy stage, the emotional dopamine hit stuff that comes from those who are in a low frequency. And we'll talk some more about that. But again, wise adults, they don't get capricious with logic. Wise adults don't get capricious with data that they don't like to hear. Wise adults who are mystics and spiritual don't use demons, lucifers, and we know who the spiritual bypassers are. It's all of the ones who don't understand how, for me, I use the word God, how God's perfect and all of his children are perfect. They also don't seem to know about neuroscience, neurobiology, and modern day therapists giving every single person the way back home. It's called yourself. So the minute that you will hear someone describe to you grief or sadness or any of the negative or positive emotions in ways that make it seem like you're watching an action movie, that's a bad resilience. That's a modulated embodiment human being who's doing pseudo-aliveness. They don't notice they're dysregulated because their dopamine hit is what they're after. It's called they're hooked on drama and or hooked on that low frequency. So there are no shortcuts in life, and when you choose to be yourself, you'll know that. While if you meet someone who wants to give you a shortcut to integration, please be aware there are no shortcuts. In fact, what's actually hilarious, no, it's frustrating, is when you meet human beings who ask a person such as Dr. Daniel Siegel, smart human being, for a shortcut for something that has no shortcut. And so integration of the brain, if you have not heard of it, he is amazing, not only with the integration of the brain, his PDP framework, and every single bit of what he has and continues to support the community with. Basil Vanderkook is in the lovely heroes of my grateful for them, Janina Fisher, Pat Ogden, Peter Levine. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of other people. Sue Martin, my teacher, thanks to her, I know every one of us has our child parts, and the ones who have a teenager in the lead, thanks to Terry Real, I know, yep, adaptive child part. They sure as heck know how to turn it off and on all the time. It's just not a losing strategy. Thanks to Patrick Tiahan, I know cowards don't want to go and know how cool it is to get their childhood trauma healed. Thanks to my lovely teacher, Dr. Albert Wong, I got to work with pure fear at one point and say, it's okay to be afraid, Maria. So when you are a child inside and you are your grown version, you're the self always, not just sometimes. And that's a difference. So a teenager will make it sound like, oh, I got to experience that. And that's the pseudo-life that Deb Dana and Bethany Brand and Ruth Lane has taught me in my course, Dissociative Disorder. So I have a bunch of different teachers. And what I'm going to tell you is people who do emotional regulation and resilience, they only can do this the right way because they self-regulate. And then because they own all of their child parts. So they're okay with crying. This is why I'm grateful and I can cry. And a cynic who doesn't believe this is the case, it's so sad. He's all effective realism. It's a fact that people can't cry. He even brings a bunch of books out. But the funniest part is, I want to be able to about what it is right now, it feels right. And I'm saying it this way because he's all feels, which is what we all are. So the first 3 years of your life are implicit memory. You're going to be yourself, you're going to be grateful, you're going to be one with Akash Source Mundi, you're going to feel grace, you're going to be in communion with God, however you word it, but you'll know above all the perfection that every single one of our brothers and sisters can be if they choose their A game. If they choose their B game, they will be able to go and have fun with each other, but they will definitely not have access to all of who they are, and they will continue to be the masculines, which means if you think everyone is out to get you, you will become small. Trust is important. meaning the ego by itself with all those, it's like the flat earthers. They come together and they hang out and they think they know everything, and then they decide that everybody else is wrong. Perception based on comparison is never absolute. It is a distortion of reality. And this is Sadhguru again, as well as if you are truly conscious, there's only one place you can be now. So when you are in the now, you do know about how reality is subjective, but there's data and logic from those who are amazing at what they do, the scientists. So here's where we have Ebony Webb Psych Dean. The critical ingredient for rupture repair is meeting vulnerability. If I'm training a kid on allowing vulnerability to show up, but there are defenses, then I'm doing more harm for that client. And so the part about being able to work with that which is emotions, vulnerability, defenses, conflict. Those who do good work with therapists, once they're ready, they can choose to discern with equanimity, love. That's what God's timbre is to me, and that's why the perfection that comes from the timbre of truth, the timbre of, for example, Thomas Campbell, love, timbre of truth has no distortion. So while an adolescent version of those human beings out there, the teenager, fight, response, modulate, embodiment, want to have the right to be angry, and they will continue to say anger is the way you show up, because they say you are meant to be able to correct. Healthy boundaries of a functional adult involve not an adaptive child part who's still actually protecting the core wound. So those who are using their self-righteous batons are not healed. You'll see them do shadow work on screen. They're not doing work. They're simply bringing their structurally dissociated brain in the forefront. So mediocre, B game, are those who are sharing a team. They're cheering each other on, and then they're in a low frequency, not good or bad, but not a game, and not a demon, please. So those who continue to divide us in good or bad like children do, they're not taken seriously by intellectually speaking mystics. They're spiritual bypassers. What's God's perfection? All the scientists prove every single one of my brothers and sisters, 8 billion people, were made with the same embodied brain. My body isn't a special body. Your body's in a special body. We're actively a biology. And so the ones who use the bright sides of neuroplasticity and their ventral vagal state, eustress, they're going to know what I know, the bliss of life, the gratitude, the wellness, that I don't be myself because of you. No, I don't need this or this. I could be motivated by bonding, but that's where everybody's PDP framework is different. I know mine, it's not bonding. And so once you know who you are, that's where all your brothers and sisters are angels. They all have a voice and they all want love. But some will continue to try to save themselves because their codependent 0-8-year-old is not being tended to by the grown-up. They're not using prefrontal. So while I believe we're magic because I am mystic spiritual, it's not magic. But I know science is also magic, meaning it explains basically how we're made, and that's not something sad. Neil deGrasse uses the word miracle. We're a miracle of life. I got taught this by my good Christian Catholic catechists. When someone made it very clear how hard life is for them because they basically decided to tell me they were going to kill themselves without even bothering apologizing eventually, I knew, well, I obviously have a situation. I'm not going to get aggressive with that. I'm going to be saddened by the fact that I'm aware now that I have someone who doesn't know how to handle emotions. They suffer life to the extent of actually saying something, not noticing what they said or not caring to notice it, and then you find out what avoidant people do, fantasy stages, and their little small dopamine hits, and how the dark sides of neuroplasticity have basically any human being who was an adolescent become their grown adolescent version, which doesn't sound interesting. No, it's not. It's actually not. It's more like, okay, thank goodness I got Peter Levine's explanation, Dr. Daniel Fox's, anyone who doubts kindness, neutrality. Now I know what I'm dealing with. They all don't know they have mustard on their chin. And so when you meet those who don't know flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brain, it's because they're not integrated. They don't know how to be in the now. They don't know how to be in the prefrontal, curious, open, accepting, and loving. So they don't know gratitude. They don't know safety in their 0, 1, 3, 7, none of it. They will know magical thinking, and then they will be playing a game of cat and mouse, as Patrick Tiahan points out, and it won't be cool. Like when you see people thinking fraternity sororities or getting yelled at by some sergeant seems cool. I don't think it's cool to get yelled at. That you can choose a profession, sure, but that you want to tell me that you got to become a man or a woman because of doing certain things, sure. You keep talking to somebody who is going to look at you with, I need to respect you chose a profession. I'm pretty certain that's not how to become a real man, real woman, or real day at all, because now I just know that you allow someone to speak to you in a way, and that is why you think you've become who you are, and I think nothing of that except for, again, okay, I'm so happy I have my mother, and that I will know what those who want to be little soldiers are going to look like, and those who think that we need that for the future, again, it's not brilliant. I don't have fear of my human species. When you hear people who think humanity needs to continuously be in this place of, I'm going to have to watch my back, it's called the survival mode. Now that we want to keep an open mind to everything, I'm a political science major, FYI, in case you're curious. Just so you know, I know what strategy is, and I do know how it works. So a person who cares about their species will want the species to become the A game of themselves, which is why I don't play small, I play big. Anyone who uses two sides of the brain, they're going to be emotionally intelligent, which will make them mentally intelligent. Anyone who doesn't have emotional intelligence will lack the capacity to know how to be mentally intelligent, because they'll be blind from a lot of different angles, like my lovely facade friend who is continuously blind with his Achilles heel, because he does not know how to make life have meaning from here in the absence of someone from the outside. Now, we're all people, so our 0-1-year-old wants at least one securely attached figure. That's what knowledge does. It's not the words. Knowledge empowered me to empower you with information that you might not believe in. In fact, there are people that find it hard to believe the prophecy is life means shit, Maria. And you don't say anything to that, because, yes, it means everything. To the inner critic and outer critic, to the monsters in the head, to the doubting kindness, to the doubting any neutrality, to all of it, to the survival mode. It'll mean everything to the maladaptive patterns of behavior that begin by the time you're an adolescent, because that adolescent brain has a specific essential spark: social engagement, novelty, creative expression. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Siegel. You're going to get hooked on the dopamine hits, the ups and downs, and merry-go-rounds. Furthermore, the adolescent doesn't own the sense of self when they have 0-8-year-old unsecurely attached, and now they're going to start copying their brothers and sisters, their teenage friends, and be morons like the teenagers I saw, which is why it's unimpressive. So when I'm watching those who think they know shit not know shit, it's like, yeah, there's no shortcuts to integration. You want to start sooner than later to wield your mind effectively. Also educate. I'm thankful I got sex ed, DARE program. I learned from the grown-ups, and then I learned how, no, I'm not copying you. You're right. I'm so sorry for meddling into your business. You're so right. I'm going to stop telling you what to do. Someone told me, you tell us what to do. You don't do what, yeah, I don't do what you do because you're stupid. That's why I don't do what you do. You don't know everything. No, I don't. But what you're doing is actively very exaggerated. So let me just raise my hands. It's going to leave. So again, wisdom is grounded. Logic is very clear. Data 2, information, knowledge empowers. People booing me on a Friday evening for not wanting to do homework made me think nothing, made me feel nothing, because I'm not a moron who wants to be a stupid idiot. Those human beings didn't give two shits. When I met a set of what were still teenagers as a grown-up, I went home. I was like, Mom, you won't ever believe what just happened to me. And I was like, I was out with these people. They're not my friends, but I remember them from when I was a teenager. Mom, they didn't grow up. And I know that I'm like just as much a child, but no, they are the same stingy ass human beings who didn't have each other's back, blah, blah, blah. And I was talking, and we had each other. No, you didn't have each other's back. Yes, we did. No, you did not. You keep thinking that these people had backs. They have nobody's backs. In fact, in the same situation that I was in, it was very clear how they had nobody's back. Then it was something I completely was like, today with attachment trauma education, I'm like, okay, I have the teenage version of them, their adaptive child part, they're emotionally immature. Now I understand that they actively don't have the prefrontal. Now they could if they wanted, but they don't want it. So, I'm going to leave it alone. But their behavior, I kid you not, people, the energy, their behavior, everything, I was like, they simply grew with wrinkles. Now they're like an eczema, but That's not isma. And so attachment trauma, thank goodness it came around, because I was trying to figure out why. I mean, by the time I got to college, they're doing shit. If that's not cool, the fraternity closing in a room, making you do yucky shit for sororities, you thinking it's cool, fucking people miserable. What's up with this? It's not about celibacy. Why are you doing things that make you upset? And why do you think it's cool to have people make you do yucky, uninteresting shit? Go watch Hangover, Mean Girls. It's funny as a movie, not funny when you're meeting people. So, with that being said, that's why I'm here to share. The good news is everyone can bring their A game, have a good time in life, and that's because moderation, every single bit. Securely attached, non traumatized people are called boring by those who are not supposed to be using the word. They're supposed to motivate their patients, their clients, their coaches. How are you coaching your people to get out of that which is actually boring to me? So, gratification hits. Do you want to know what a gratification hit is of a human being once they grow up to the point of where they're looking more and more like a grown-up, but they don't act like one? Yeah. So, Sao Tzu, The Art of War. Did I mention smart human beings are what warriors are made of? Not the ones that are... Anybody remember Men in Black? Okay, when he walked into the room and all the ones who didn't ask any questions, just saying it, he knew the difference between what it is to be smart versus what it is to basically not know how to use two sides of brain. And this is just any kind of, I can bring them all in. There's two groups of people, the ones who use two sides, and they spot the ones who don't, and we leave it alone. We are not trying to protect ourselves from them. We're not actually I'm even trying to make sure that they don't notice us at all, just because that way we don't have to deal with it. But I do believe we have a superpower. Do you know what it is? Dum dum. Like my facade friend said, I'm a hypocrite because he doesn't know how to do the concealance approach. And then, like, other people say you're an idiot, and that's because they actually don't like the concealance approach. And then when they're so triggered to the point of where it's stupid, it's because they don't like what they just heard, and you allow yourself to get, I am a woman after all. You're all in motion. Yeah, I really am. And so you continuously get to do that, and eventually they really can't do much. Plus they're grown up, so they really can't be like, I would punch you in your face. Oh, that's my twin and I. We would have fun because I would get on her nerves, she would get on my nerves, and as you can tell, I'm still a child inside. Okay, so wise adults, we don't get capricious with logic or data just because we don't like it. Actually, we call reinforcement. When I read something that I don't like, I'm like, okay, I need a clear-minded human being who can read these words differently than my brain's reading them right now, because otherwise I'm not going to benefit from it at all. And I want to benefit from it because knowledge is what empowers me, not the words. And the people who clearly can read it will be able to help me understand it. In fact, it's beautiful. I love that. I love that people know me so well that they can tell me something and make it make sense when I'm reading it and upset about it, and they can make it make sense because they know how to tell me in my language. And then I can try and do the same. I'm not always great at it, but I can try. But I'm actually not. I fuck up with words. If you're new, you don't know this. Like, I will use words randomly just because I like the sound of them. And when someone has pointed that out to me, and they've been correct more than once on words that I've been using wrong, I'm like, look, I can't help this feeling deep inside of me. Call me dumb, but this is how my mouth rules me. And so, just remember, Maria, completely healthy perfectionist, because if I were not, I'd be driven crazy by every single time I fuck up when I use words. But I'm not good with regurgitation of material, so I am not trying to strengthen that neuro agent, or the neuro, what is it called? Neurosynapses. That's right. That neurosynapses connection. I'm sure I could try, but I'm not. Okay, so The Art of War, Sun Tzu. Before we conclude, again, I'm grateful, and I am super, super emotionally happy for all my brothers and sisters, the ones who want the A game, the ones who have the B game. I will tip my hat down and thank them for trying, and I will also tip my hat down because of us losing to that which is called unhealthy fear, but it is understandable due to their body being their own. They have a right to do with that body that which they want, and the ventral vagal state is not what the body wants, and they don't want the integrated brain because that's just how shit went down for them. So it doesn't make me think, oh my God, I'm so suffering for those human beings who don't want to get out of that, which was, what was it? Robert Sapolsky, determined. They have a free will choice. There's plenty of modern day therapists that are informing them of every bit of healing. So the ones who don't want it don't have to. It's not a competition. And that's why the smart people, we're not trying to have everybody on the same wavelength. You can be whatever wave you want. At the end of the day, if you're going to choose the true love wavelength, then you will be able to know healthy fear, which is why we don't get rid of healthy fear. We always have 3 ways our nervous system works. Woo-woo, pseudoscience lady right here. So when you're enlightening and you're grounded in reality, you know that beliefs are personal. I believe in God, and I believe in my spiritual journey and mystic. And when someone makes fun of it and more, I don't think, oh, when I came out of the closet, I'm so upset at everyone. No, because what? Excuse me, come out of the closet again? Did you just? That sounds like you want your family to accept you just the way you are. Don't you know that we're all different, but we're all the same? Like, meaning it doesn't matter. They can't. Sometimes they won't accept you. I mean, you grow up and you get. I mean, look at the ugly duckling. He became a swan. You know how it works, right? Like Sid. But you know how it works like a grown-up. It's called Ice Age. You don't do Cusco. You become Pacha. Inspiring human potential. Once again, I don't play small. Detachment trauma educators, they're genius. Stephen Porges, I mentioned him. Thanks to him, I know. Thank you, Jesus. I do forgive, and blessed are those who believe without seeing. Also, they don't know, like Stephen Porges points out, biologically rude people don't know that they're rude. They don't have room for you. It's not Lucifer or monster. Shit went down. Their body doesn't feel safe. In fact, if I cry, a cynic's going to say that I'm a liar because I can't all of a sudden cry. Wow, what I'm going to tell you is when somebody's crying because their community's like, you're too harsh, and they actually are too harsh, I was thinking the same thing. Like, how are you going to help those who are anxious with that attitude? They looked like a soldier as they're, and I'm thinking that boot camp shit don't work for those of us who are anxious. I know it ain't working with me, but I'm empowered now. But wow, yeah, when they came on screen and almost started crying, I'm like, thought they were a coach. Now they're on screen crying, and they're making a very bad point because they don't know how to be objectively aware of themselves, which is your harsh human being. I have advisors. They tell me sometimes you sound cocky, sometimes you sound bossy, sometimes you sound self-centered. And I'm like, look, these are all great. I'm going to do my best to make sure I address those all, but I actually am building a community of badass A-gamers. I'm pretty sure I don't have to be concerned with that because they're going to know the timber of truth and the timber of distortion and make fun of the distortion like I'm doing right now because they're all buffoons like my facade friend and anybody with an Achilles heel. If I look away and your confidence is eroded, dude, and this comes out of your fucking mouth, you would want to be immediately in the therapist's room so you could get a handle on that. Because now I know your weak spot. That means you're vulnerable to a person, and luckily for me, I'm not that person. You know what happens when you tell someone, look, I'm worried for you. I'm worried you're going to be taken advantage of. I'm not joking. I know you don't think I'm serious. Not you, but this is a person. I'm like, I'm seriously telling you, I love you. You're my friend. You're in my circle now. I don't want people to take advantage of you. You don't know how to see clearly. And they don't believe me. There's no talking sense to anyone. So I try to keep an eye out, and we all do with this human being because they definitely don't know themselves. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. So when people don't know their self, they don't know how to master their emotional whimsy, how to notice their effective realism and break free from it. When they don't know that they are made of all their child parts and that they have a nervous system, they also don't notice their buffoonery, like my facade friend. When they don't seem to notice that thinking they know all people without knowing themselves is bullshit. Okay, so science, the modern day therapists, attachment trauma educators, they give you a very basic blueprint. You have 3 ways your nervous system will work if they're that informed somatically. and you want to be in your ventral vagal state. Once you're doing that with an integrated brain, which means that you are going to be using eustress, you will be able to move into complete curiosity. You're not doing strength or courage anymore. And so if you hear somebody talking to you about grief, and I'm going to close us out in a way of making it sound like an action movie. I remember when I moved out of that, which is alert, alert, because I was like, I don't need to go to these extremes. It was basically like the waves that Tara Brach explains. I'm like, I know I can sit in the middle. I didn't know any of the terms for mindfulness or mindsight yet. I just knew I can do this. Like when I stopped getting all angry because my brain was with the cortisol saturating my hippocampus. I could tell my brain was getting fuzzy. And I was like, I'm doing political science. I need to be able to negotiate. Me getting this pissed is not going to be beneficial to me. I won't be able to negotiate. This is when I thought that people who chose their profession actually cared about what they did. Today I can tell you, the professionals who care, you're not a one size fits all. There's no shortcuts. Someone asking for a shortcut for integration, sure, you don't care about what you are doing, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. There are people who want the shortcut. And so, long story short, grief, it is not an action movie. Sadness, not an action movie. Anger. So healthy emotional expression is where, with the integrated brain, you're going to know the 90 seconds that an emotion can last. Then you're going to know if there are any of those child parts that come up, or any of that trauma charge, if you will. Do you know why and how you would know? Because when people know self-regulation in the ventral vagal state, and they know how to reassure and support themselves to become that which is called the curious part, right size of neuroplasticity, it will be wellness with the well-being mindset. And so it will be, I have a conversation with that which is no need to explore the emotions, but I will converse about whatever it is that took place. I can explore that which I'm sad about, but it's not an action movie. While the pseudo-live people and that modulate embodiment with that gratification, a little dopamine hit, you can tell that it's sensational because they're creating a whole one, dressing it up. So narratives distance you from the event that is taking place. That's also why people dehumanize, demonize, and basically objectify. So shame has a continuum. And this I learned from one of my attachment trauma educators. Again, forget the name, but every 24 hours count. Your habits, your thoughts, your interests, the person you will be tomorrow will be what you are putting into practice today. So if someone has shame, blame, fault, revenge, if somebody is still using this modulated embodiment, you will notice it because they make it sound like, wow. And it's not about the words or the excitement. It's different. Life force, energy, vitality, aliveness is the essence of that which is all of the child parts of you plus the grown-up version. You're not making it sound like I'm going to think how amazing that I went through grief. Okay, that's why I was saying the action movie. How amazing I went through anger. I was meant to be. I'm wired to. Excuse me. Why are you objectifying? So when people are using the word, I'm not a wire. I'm an embodied brain. There's a way my amygdala works. I was explained it. So here's how grounded in reality wisdom works. When you're logical, you know data, they've explained it, you know how to use your prefrontal, and you therefore know what words have been spoken to, but furthermore, you have a deep relationship. Gratitude, appreciation. I thank every single one of the people out there, the entire globe and beyond, that we get to experience this thing called life. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Let me ask. Dark matter, dark energy, Big Bang. So spiritual ones who are mystics, who are enlightened, who do have a bond, Akash Source Anima Mundi, and or for me, it's called God. We don't break away from it because of us now having science that can explain something. Science explains things, and a guy who I was around said, but they didn't prove the Big Bang Theory yet. They didn't understand that one. Okay, so every time science explains something, you move God farther and farther away. Faith is not about that which is, in fact, what created or didn't create. What came first, the chicken or the egg? So who needs to know the truth about how things came to be? Meaning, who needs control of a story from the beginning to the end of it? The left brain alone, because it needs to be linear. Who can be around and round and round and round about, give depth to it, take it away, and continue to be grateful, be open, be at ease? That's the empowered feminine. So I'm bringing a bunch of different things in. Again, mystic spiritual ones don't actually use that which is called our stories inside of us to have this relationship. It will come in many different ways, shapes, and forms, as lovely Thomas Campbell, physicist, points out. The truth is not fragile, but I'm going to tell you it's an energetic imprint. So once you're a master in your mental, emotion, physical plane, if you're an Akashic record reader, tarot, spiritual, mystic, and this, you have a toolkit, a bunch of things, you're still wise and grounded in reality. The 5D collective, we don't create stories of good and bad sides. The ones who have good and bad sides, they're creating stories, which is why you got Elsa, show yourself, I'm dying to meet you. Siren, don't try and call me. They need a superhero, supervillain. Action movie again, action movie more. So grief, that's not how you're going to experience it if you're pure in the essence of you as a human being. It will mean that when my 1-year-old wants a good cry, it wants a good cry, because that's exactly how it'll come up. Teenager's not in the room, because the adaptive child part is the teenager version of any person who's going to think that the life out there is unfair. Something's unfair. I'm going to fight it. Which is why I'm unimpressed personally as an empowered feminine. Anytime I'm seeing them, it's like, okay, there's more cowards out there. I met them by the time I was 20. Of one reason. You know, when you do know God encourages, comforts, supports, and strengthens his children. Thank you, God. Those who don't want to believe in God, they don't have to. I didn't prove it to the teenage boyfriend. You better bet you're not going to think of proving it to anybody else. Cloak people. I made a very big statement when I told God, no, Lucifer, just cowards. Cloak people, hurting children, physically, emotionally, mentally, continue to do so, dividing us instead of bringing us together. Dalai Lama is a spiritual one, letting us all know we're all here for the same reasons. The ones who want to keep us divisive, no, they're not. They're just playing to crowd. But they're playing to crowd that sees small, that thinks small, that is ignorant, that doesn't want to get knowledge, that thinks words are powerful versus no, words don't mean anything if you don't know how to read books and learn it and then go beyond what you believe. And then continue to go beyond what you believe, because grounded in reality means that. I don't sit with what I believe and say, oh, look, I got all the answers. Are you an idiot? Because seriously, when someone uses the word belief with me, I just think, yeah, I believe in God. I learn things when it comes to a bunch of other stuff. And I don't know everything, but I know some things. I'm very curious. So grief, come again? You want me to think what of that? So the thread to your vessel is your heart. Be grateful and be welcoming of all that you are until it lights up. The amygdala is alerted. Our 14-month-old will already know exactly who he, she, they will be interested in. Mine knows. That's why I don't find mediocre people dangerous. Dan Martel, they're not near me. And if I spot them, my mother taught me manners and God taught me not to play know-it-all, because seriously, I already knew how to say you're out, you're out, you're out, you're maybe means you're out, you're in, you're in, you're in. Oh, look, I first met the first batch of cowards. So grateful for them. Totally grateful, because I didn't need to go through a bunch of other batches. That's called, I love all my brothers and sisters equally. They're not monsters. Please stop. So I really, really want you to understand the evil Knievel medieval thing. It's a story of the past. Hippocrates told his people, once we find out what epilepsy is, you won't call it the wrath of the gods. Today we have Patrick McNamara decentralizing in the self, and he explains how the embodied brain works, accompanied with all the other smart somatic therapists. They're proving kingdom of God within us. Restored embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating. Spread the word, the good news. Now, doesn't mean anyone's going to believe you, because you don't talk sense to the teenage versions of any of those people who are grown-ups. And so we don't try to. In fact, it's actually hilarious when they don't notice. A heart that is open to the truth of you as a part of all that is, and that gets to share life with a whole self and soul. For those of us who do know, our soul, it's all the same frequency. It's just love. We don't put on pedestals those lower charges. In fact, nobody gets on a pedestal. We're all flat on the earth. Thanks, Thomas Campbell. We all make sense of life, and we all give it meaning. It's called your human secondary consciousness, so your prefrontal cortex. You learn how meaningful, meaningless, I mean, really, Tomato, tomato. That's why we're expert yogis and prophets and all of it. We are married to that which is called Resh. No, not really, but we basically know darkness and infinity and beyond. And chicken or rooster. Stupid lady. No, not really. Just trying to point out integrated brain. We have no issue. Chicken or egg. Excuse me, not rooster. There you go. So it gets to share with all of those who will want to the relationships. True love. Gratitude. I'm grateful for every one of you who stayed and stuck around. I'm grateful for all the smart scientists. I'm grateful for God still being in my life, my good Christian Catholic upbringing, the Holy Trinity, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. I don't suffer for my brothers and sisters' sins, because the sin thing is really the word that they want to keep using in ways that are of ancient news. I'm sad for every one of my brothers and sisters who will not choose their own healing because they betray themselves. It's why they're the same cowards that I met when I was a kid. And I will not be here and say it's a perfect world. No, it is not. But you better bet when you meet emotionally intelligent human beings, you're going to meet those who are knowing exactly why they won't be wasting any of their mouth and breath on people who want to say, you don't believe in evil? No, because there's science that proves exactly where they end up, except for the ones who are apparently Peter Pan, Lost Boys. Wendy, what's up? Hey, student intellectuals, what's going on? Got some story for me? I'm really waiting for it. And that's how it works. So yeah, the belief worth, the understanding, I understand science, and I understand when I'm presented with what works. It works. Integration of the brain. What doesn't work is somebody who thinks they have it and they don't have it, and then they use words with their mouth and, well, let me stop. So functional child adults, welcome aboard. I welcome all of you. We find solutions because we love to talk and walk together in life as our true, authentic, higher selves, anchored in ventral energy, with emotions and thoughts that mature, expand, and consciously continue to contribute to our evolving human and consciousness herd. We evolve as a species. So we have the short end of the stick, the long end of the stick. We have love and unhealthy fear, but we have love and fear together. When you have love and unhealthy fear, you don't have a lover yet. You have a person who could maybe choose love, but if they have unhealthy fear, that means that they weren't gifted that which I was gifted. They weren't gifted the embodied brain that was able to stay a whole self. They weren't gifted a lot of things. So let's be grateful, and let's be also in appreciation. When this will go out, it will be the day before, where I celebrate a day to give gratitude. It's a day that not everybody wants to celebrate due to the fact that we all know there's a bunch of different things that humanity will have made mistakes on, will have gotten wrong. The point of Jesus and forgiveness. And that's why if someone wants to tell me they're spiritual or mystic and yet they don't know how to forgive, meaning they don't know how to process grief like a grown-up does, wise adults don't cherry pick and get capricious with information. They accept explanation. So if someone tells you the embodied brain works in a specific way, and a person who's dysregulated doesn't know the difference between self-regulation and dysregulation, they will only know their emotionally immature version, and they might not ever know who they could be because they will stay dressed up. So the people who don't want to forgive our human ancestry and our human grown-ups right now for their sins, for their shame, for their low frequency, for their trauma stuff, well, sorry to break the news. I find it petty, meaning I find it small energy. For anyone who doesn't know how to say it, I'm angry, I would like to correct things, and that anger and correcting is because I'm sad, because as a human I am part of a herd and I will want to bond with every single one of people out there. And let's bring in the to be saluted unhealthy self-worth human being man who's married, has a child, girl, who was trying to hit on a bunch of different women, in one case got rejected, and in an entire evening busted my balls. I have a funny story for it because that was where they were drunk, so they got the capacity to bust someone's balls about something they'd been ruminating about. You don't want to be my friend. Yeah, I don't. I'm a stranger. And yet they felt completely at ease with being a child. Furthermore, that wasn't the only moment. No, then they got off their chest. At least they looked at me, because the next time I saw them, I looked at them. That's because my mother taught me common courtesy. And so the minute that someone tells me, "Minute doesn't have to be saluted," as they're looking at me in a corner of their eye and they're drunk, I think, wow, what the fuck, decency. No, it's not about decency. I laughed inside, not at them. I was a child thinking, what the heck? My child parts, they're always here. So Thanks to the human being, I have a funny story. Thanks to me being a grown woman, what I'm going to tell you is no, I don't need to get in their face. No, I don't need to give them a pat on the back. No, I didn't say it wrong, men friends. I actually didn't give it any mixed signals. I was forced to be a fucking bitch so that I could get them off my ass. And still, they felt that they had a right to do what they did, like many other human beings who don't notice their emotionally immature behavior. So gratitude and appreciation comes from that which is called, I thank God he is perfect. That human being could use a therapy. They don't want one. They got a wife, a kid, and someone who said, well, at least I gave them a shot. Let me think. And then another group of people who are just calling him and his friends slime balls, and they're not slime balls. They're just basically versions of teenage human being men who are men. And I've seen a guy with a psychology degree who fits the same exact bill. In fact, this guy, I was like, this must be a joke. This guy's a joke. He can't be for real. He was comparing a dress and it being used, talking to me, the woman, as what it would it be if you bought a dress for $50, I forget the amount, and it was used. That's how for man, if you had better sex life, I forget what it was. I was like, this is not true. It has to be a joke. He must be playing to crowd. Please, you're playing to crowd. No, these people are for real. And so once again, inspiring human potential, it's not with the mediocre players. The mediocre players, they can continue having fun. Grief, you don't put it into an action movie. So let me share again. Thank you, Jesus, for teaching me how to forgive. Thank you, God, for sharing with me that all my brothers and sisters are angels. Thank you, smart therapist, for letting me know what an empowered feminine is. The divine feminine is the body, my masculine integrated brain, your magic when you're using the neuroplastic agent. Be appreciative and be grateful. Believe in yourself. That's with all the child of you. And when you see source in everyone, yes, does not mean that you will be freed from curses, karma, chains, or anything of your ancestors, because to process grief will mean that you actually will have cried, you will have been upset, but then you will have continued to grow. The trauma experts call it post-traumatic growth. Some of us don't have it that way because, again, big girls cry, get angry, boys, so feelings are feelings. You don't dress them up, you don't dress them down, and you don't think of monsters when people are being unkind. You just know they're not actually behaved human beings. Their biological rudeness stems from how they were treated. That's very obvious to anybody who was treated like a child, because my mother taught me manners and how to treat disrespectful human being grown-ups who are supposed to be leaders and are manipulative, human being children who are bad-mannered, and that they're learning their bad manners from each other. So I don't bring bad manners. I curse because I'm a grown-up, and someone who says it's vulgar, I say, not in today's era, but sure, I can get it. If I curse in your face, it would be vulgar. I don't curse in people's faces. You don't heal trauma with the wrong people. I'm grateful for the smart therapists and all those who are out there, like Ruth Lanius. No trauma therapy is complete without really addressing brain, mind, and body, and really connecting all three. And so, as Aristotle points out, a friend you love is considered your second self, one whose pain feels like your own. No, emotions are not contagious. Our nervous systems are. And that's why you don't fuck with me or my biosphere, because that's what self-regulation is. I'm appreciative and grateful that I know how to securely attach, non-traumatize Maria, because I can be always at my A game. Why? Because that's what I chose. I'm a healthy perfectionist. So I was perfectionist, then I got healthy as I got older, because there's no perfection. I make a lot of mistakes, and that's always, but that's okay, because I've given up on trying to get all the grammar right. Yay! That was a long time ago again. Let him who would move the world first move himself. Thank you, Socrates. And there's also this lovely other man. I need to quote him right now. Dream no small dreams, for they have no power to move the hearts of men. Nothing is more terrible than to see ignorance in action. And this one, if you treat an individual as he is, he will remain how he is. But if you treat him as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be. Thank you, Johann Wolfgang van Gogh. And while, yes, treat those who are human beings as human beings, whether they're emotionally immature or mature, you treat them the way you would want to be treated. Therefore, a wise adult will not do unto others that which was done unto them, or do unto others that which they're doing. You don't do the little pity party dance, and you don't do the little spiteful shit. So grief is not something I would bring in as an action movie, nor anger, nor any of emotions. As a grown woman, what I'm going to tell you is emotions last 90 seconds if you're using the bright sides of neuroplasticity, if you're an integrated brain, living a restorative, embodied, self-aware. accountable, regulating life with a very successful mindset. And that's why it's about not even only what works, experimental mindset. This is where, thanks Laura Lacan, scientific method grow every step of the way. It's not scientific. You're not a piece of science. You're a human. Now I can explain how your amygdala is alerted to that which is of interest. I can explain how the child parts work. All of that doesn't matter what I explain to you. If you don't choose to become all of you, what words just came out of my mouth for the entire episodes, all of it doesn't matter, which is the whole point of why Bessel van der Kolk says you don't talk sense to a friend of yours to not marry the wrong woman, like my facade friend who I didn't speak to for 5 years. And it wasn't about him marrying the wrong woman. Is I gave you advice, you lied to me, you hid behind my back, then you acted like a fool, you're a fucking asshole, for real, you disrespected our entire friendship. But when he was in a shithole, I'm not going to leave you out to die. You're all by yourself. You've been dumped from your potential, at the time, future wife who dumped you without even giving you a reason. You're broke. You're bankrupt because your business failed. Yeah, you have no friends. The only friend you had didn't help you when you were in need. I'm not going to do the shameful thing of leaving you in the dumps because you actually disrespected me. That would be shame on you, Maria, and God taught you better, and so did your mom, and so did it to be a human. That's as easy as it gets. You don't actually justify your anger or any of it and be like, let me treat an asshole like an actual asshole, unless your physical life isn't threatening. That's the only part where, and that's why it's very complex, the part about the physics. If you're distorting things, so if people don't have their wholeness, they distort things, and we're not going to go there right now. This is not an explanation that I'm going to give, but long story short, someone asks me about criminals. I say, you know what? I know a little girl in my mind's eye. She's still crying as they're offering her juice. If one day she kills me, I know why. I know what happened to her. I know who to blame, and it's not her. I actively have fingers to blame, but, we don't do that. That's bad manners. So let's be grateful and appreciative. Candlelight illuminates damage beneath the feet with wave of lights. That's from me to you. And when you are aligned with God and Source, you are applying the spiritual essence of love, and you're activating God's will with Mother Earth's fifth dimension. You know that love is all things, that love never judges, and love never obstructs free will. And so grief, it is not an action movie. And when you experience it, you know that you're processing things that are called very deep emotions. If they're child parts, that's where you'll feel it because you get tired when it's like a little trauma memory or something like that. So you'll notice it because you'll have practice working with getting to your ventral vagal state, and that's why you don't stay in a low frequency. You consistently become more elastic to be on a high. You're anchored in ventral energy all the time. It's really fun. But what I wanted to get to is, so I am very grateful for a lot of things, and I'm appreciative for every single bit of my oversoul. They all help me to choose to be the person that I am today. But guess who's the body? My body. So my body has something to do with it, neurobiology, neuroscience, but my body is like your body. And so the thoughts, like our lovely Lisa Feldman Barrett points out, she says the brain is running a model of its body. And she says the brain keeps the score or the count. The brain keeps the count because Bessel van der Kolk has the body keeps the score. So your thoughts matter every day, but your feelings are what rule you until you rule yourself. Now, once you are your true self and you have all the essence of you, you know what a child wants when they get into a fight: ruptures and repairs. So if I am a friend with you, like with my facade friend, which is why he taught me how not to say to somebody, I'm going to not talk to you anymore. So he taught me how to be a better grown-up. Okay, you don't think of grief and of something sad or angry as something beautiful. Usually, if you're logical, you know what being grounded in reality means, you know what science explains, you know all of it, you'll know what is called a choice point. It's not because you have to have free will or not. It's simply called there's always 50-50 chance. And there's the capacity to have a choice point of expansion and a capacity to have the other. So it's what came first, chicken or the egg? You won't have the sliding door in your mind if you're grounded in reality. You will have, like Dr. Daniel Siegel presents, forgiveness is when you can process something that won't ever change. You can't take it back. It has happened. which is why those who accept themselves will know, like this man who talks about even a man who killed is forgivable, meaning don't dress yourself up with that which are your failures, because then that is where you're not going to become the best version of yourself. Now you're going to sit and wallow in the sorrow and become a pity party. And so when people want to cast stones, number one, I don't, because thank you God, don't cast a stone, my good Christian Catholic upbringing. And that's called, you get on the floor and we're all humble. Be grateful, appreciative, wise adults, and wisdom in and of itself is grounded in reality. Beliefs are subjective, and education is education. And when you got data and you got brilliance, it keeps proving itself. And when you got morons, they keep thinking they know shit more than other people, and you think, sure you do. So when you have the ones who need to prove themselves, they're doing a whole different thing. When you got the ones who care about the entirety, we know that you won't become the man, woman, or they you ought to be, even if I treat you as you ought to be. Because if in your body you are feeling shame and blame and fault and revenge, and you continue a cat and mouse game, you don't know the difference between dysregulation and self-regulation, and you don't want to get yourself into equanimity and discernment because you don't know how to be calm and centered and loving. Well, I mean, hey, I can treat you like a grown-up every day now. You're going to stay an emotionally mature one. But deserve to be saluted. There's a man with a wife and a daughter, and he thought that he taught me a lesson in common courtesy. Just letting you know, it's not a one-time deal. I got plenty of more stories that I could share with you, but what I'm going to share is that I'm grateful and appreciative that God, he is brilliant in his perfection. So is Akash Source. And so an empowered feminine can tell you from the day you will know of who you are within your own heart, being yourself. You're not doing it for thumbs up or thumbs down, because you're not doing it to save yourself from your family. If you are an empowered feminine, your child is part of you. You're not saving yourself from your family. You are appreciative, you love, you unconditionally love, you with flaws and imperfections in them. And your biosphere doesn't owe you shit. They don't pay you back all the time, because if they don't know how to self-regulate and they don't own everything of their own self yet, they won't be paying shit back. And it's okay though. We thank you Therapy Nutshell Lady for giving us the model of how to work with emotionally mature people. I didn't need it, nor do the functional child adults, because we have fun with them, like with my facade friend. We call each other names. We don't have chips on our shoulders. We just have a good time. No energy vampires, dark auras, or demons. We know everybody is good. Either they're kind in their whole self, or they're unkind and faking it. And if they fake it, well, they won't be around too long, because healthy boundaries is not let me get angry in your face. It's okay, you know, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to give you what you want. So I am very grateful, appreciative of you being here, spending your time with me a little bit, and also grief. You don't think of it had to go this way. Sometimes you will think it could have gone differently, and you forgive, because that's actually what grown-ups know how to do, because we all make mistakes, and some can make really big ones and some will make small ones, but at the end of the day it always feels the same, because that's how it works. And some mistakes, they're not forgivable, meaning that the person will do what they can to make up for it for ways, because if somebody dies due to your mistake, that's actually something really hard. And no, nobody's going to say we can forgive that, meaning it'll change. No, but we can help you to grow from it. And so when people want to cast a stone and stay with a charge, what they don't understand is they're limiting the potential of those human beings who might be wanting to choose their A game. They might. And people who will choose their A game will choose it independently. They'll be able to say, you know what, I did fuck up, but I'm trying to be a better man, a better woman, a better they. And that is how they'll keep working with a good therapist too. So supporting people to get to their A game, like a healing narcissist, that's what grown-ups do. Like Kylie, she's healing, a healing psychopath. You support them who are healing. You don't do, I just repeat, here's the data, my colleagues are against me. Wow, you're a grown human being who's harboring resentment, and you did what on screen? Colleagues are against me. Guess who's following you? I tip my hat to those who are healing in a way that I could never know. Kylie, I love you. I know it might sound weird, so I'm going to cautiously say I mean it like a friend. And I'm just so happy she's healing, and there's a de-adelating. Every time I see those who are healing and they're so happy that they're going to get to do it, and then they're actually grieving in the grown-up way, meaning that they know that they can't always be forgiven, versus the ones who are like, oh wow, it was so amazing. They're not amazing when things are actually, it's not a scribbly board either. So there's a level of time where you move from that strength, courage, to curiosity. Once you've hit that point, it's like, wow, it keeps getting fun and more and more and more and more, and then you just don't stop. I can't stop this feeling. deep inside of me. And that's because you're a child and you're a teenager, and you're just always in your prefrontal, and you're like, wow, 90 seconds is really true. That's all it lasts. So, long story short, I thank God for keeping me away from a very specific situation in a very specific moment in time, because this person right here has a problemo. I don't like to lie. And then when I think that I know who I think I know, like my facade friend who I thought was an actual asshole, meaning that he can be a badass, he wasn't, and he still isn't. And that's because I just hugged him, and we are friends now, and that's good. And my point is, a person who doesn't know how to have conversations openly and with ease is a person who is challenged in a very significant way, and it's not our place to actually impose on them. And that's what I got to learn, that yeah, people who have unsafe bodies, they need to be left alone. So I can't hug all people, and I'm just letting you know. And that sometimes a healthy perfectionist makes it sound like everybody has to bring in their A game. That's not what I'm trying to say. Only the ones who want to. And the ones who don't, it's okay. They won't like us. This is, again, healthy perfectionists. They're the child who are grown-up types. I'm just saying, I know I can be annoying sometimes. But not to you. But no, come on. So I'm appreciative and grateful. Again, thank you so much. As I was trying to say, nobody is going to look to the past and think, I wish things went the way they went. When there's grief involved, if something can't change, you will be able to process it, forgive it, move into becoming a grown-up. For some of us, it's not post-traumatic growth, because really, force, strength, courage from crying, come on. Like, I'm a big girl and I cry, but thanking God, yes, for his perfection, because there's one thing that, for example, came out of my mouth that I can't take back. If anyone says you have to regret something, I'm like, oh, that one, I regret that thing. And this other occasion, I would have actually regretted it. I would have felt ashamed of Maria. I would have felt guilty. I would have felt upset. I would have been very, and I wouldn't have been able to ever take it back. Although, what I can tell you is, I know that it's okay, because I know the level of knowledge and understanding and wisdom and intelligence and intellect that I am when I'm thinking of the individual in question. And so in that instance, because of the level of expansion of consciousness of the person in and of themselves, they would have understood as well. But the point is, none of that has gone in any negative way. Expansion is what has happened with people. People who are grown-ups and wise, they always expand, and they grow more loving together. And even when that is something that you we'll save it for some other time. But my point is, I'm grateful and appreciative for all my loved ones, and I'm grateful and appreciative to God's perfection. And when you're an empowered feminine, you keep on getting surprised. You're like, wow, wow, wow. At a certain point, you're like, oh my gosh, I left gifts to myself. That's so amazing. And then there's also other parts where you feel sad. Yeah, so there are some people who might not become their beautiful, beautiful star in this lifetime, but we're going to continue unconsciously loving each other. And so thank you again. Have a good one. We'll be back with more.